Hi, I'm Nancy Stafford. In the 5 years I worked alongside Andy Griffith on Matlock, I played a lawyer whose job was to defend the innocent. That, of course, was fiction. But the reality of innocent human beings needing to be defended from evil and evil people has never been greater. Right beneath our noses, all across America, in every community, large and small, there's an epidemic, and I don't use that word lightly, of young girls and boys being sold and bought as sex toys. They're trafficked like drugs, inanimate objects for the pleasure of the buyer. It's become a $38 billion a year industry. These children are contraband, and America has become Contraland.
The most publicly known child predator is billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. The children that he was using, reportedly ages 12 to 14 years old, these children come from our families. That's where it impacts America. His connection with international political figures, financial figures, and industry made him a threat to them. That may be why he's dead today.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You available?
Yeah, I got two girls, Kelsey and Carrie, both 13, both real fresh.
How much is 2 girls for a half hour?
2 girls for a half hour would normally be $200. I'll do it for $150.
Well, if I had a half hour with one girl, then a half hour with the other girl, and then maybe the two of them together.
Wow.
Are you still in Paragoona?
Yes, sir, we are, but the girls are sleeping right now. We won't be open until a little bit later on. I believe that we should be able to make ourselves available for you at about 1 o'clock, if that's okay. The normal rate is $100, half an hour, $150 for an hour, unless you want both girls. And then, I'll be willing to bargain with you about that, because you seem like such a nice guy. Yeah, these are physically my own girls. I've got a really small operation, but I take real good care of them.
Is this the right place?
Yeah, it gets confusing. This is like in the middle of nowhere. It's super weird. Okay. Yo, you can come on in. You can go ahead and sit on the couch. I'm gonna get a drink. Do you want any water or?
Water's fine.
Okay.
I take really good care of my girls. I like to make sure that they're safe. Be nice to them. There'll be condoms on the bedside table, so you don't have to worry about that. Is that a problem?
No.
Okay.
Lacey, sit down. Sit down.
Sheriff's office!
All the way out!
Cuffs. Got him.
Craig Sawyer is the most qualified individual to handle the mission for interdicting child predators and child sex traffickers. Former Marine, former Navy SEAL, not just Special Warfare SEAL, but a member of SEAL Team 6, federal law enforcement officer from the standpoint of being a federal air marshal, plus working on an individual basis with other government agencies.
I feel like as a warrior,
You know, I'd been a Marine, I'd been a Navy SEAL, I grew up as a fighter, and I realized that, man, yeah, I'd spent the first half of my life going up against terrorists, serving as a counter-terrorist operator in the counter-terrorist unit, and that was a worthy contribution. But as I learned more about child trafficking and the harm and abuse of the most precious and innocent and helpless and defenseless, I just realized that I couldn't look myself in the mirror without doing what I could to combat those who are harming the children. Who am I if I can't stand up for the smallest and most defenseless and most innocent and precious among us? What kind of warrior can't even look after a child?
I was freshly 17 and grew up in a single parent home, so I never met my dad. So when I met this guy who said all the right things, and he took everything that he knew about me and used it against me. Like, I had to do it, or else I was gonna lose something that I felt like was holding me together, because I was still a kid. The most horrible things that happened when I was out there was at the hands of the buyers, and they prey on that, and they just do whatever they want. They're hurting people, and they're doing years and years and years of damage.
As a former Navy SEAL, I'm wired for direct action. And I know that for this kind of work, especially dealing with cartels, I'd need a team of guys I could depend on for high threat security.
Everybody ready to do it again, guys? Go. I'm ready. Yeah.
So I put together what I called the Viper Team, Veterans Interdicting Pedophile Rings. Former special operators, all very highly skilled and highly intelligent. Every one of them wanted to stop child trafficking.
Yeah, nice.
After a couple of days getting dialed in at the range, we were ready to deploy. When I discovered that thousands of children, little boys and girls, were being brought across our southern border to be sold for sex, I felt this is where I needed to go first, to be Cold Valley.
So you got this peak right off of our 10 o'clock over here?
I think that's Scout Hill.
I'm going to show you these Scout Hills here.
This would be extremely difficult to find these scouts hiding in these mountains. You know, there's little caves and stuff up in there, and they tuck themselves back in there, and they're very good at what they do. The better they are, the more they make from the cartel.
So not this peak, but this one right over here, and mostly on the south side. Yep, I'm going to put it on your side, and we're going down.
Between 2006 and 2012, 75,000 children were brought into the United States and probably put into the pedophile pipeline.
When author Tom Clancy created his legendary spy character, Jack Ryan, Clancy based him on a composite of 4 real-world intelligence operatives. But Jack Ryan was mostly inspired by one man, Jack Farmer. He is one of the top intelligence, counterterrorism, and criminal investigative specialists in the world.
Drugs and alcohol are used by pedophiles in a grooming system for these children. They're used to groom them, to initiate them into pedophilia for the purpose of rape, and also to control them. After a while, they develop addictions, and from the addictions, then they see a way to cope. After a certain period of time, though, some of them just can't cope. They will commit suicide.
If you don't have it, I can...
After completing their aerial reconnaissance, Craig and his Viper team coordinate with federal and local law enforcement, who are first-hand experts in how and where traffickers are exploiting our borders.
For wearing all that camouflage was try to conceal his heat signature on FLIR.
The Viper team then works up a mission plan in their Tactical Operations Center. Then it's off to the border to do some more recon. expecting to encounter the traffickers in action.
All right, we're about to roll into the Vcol Valley in Arizona, close to the southern border. It goes from Arizona to San Diego, California. It's the most significant hotbed of activity of illegal migration and narcotics and human trafficking into the continental United States. So even our federal and local law enforcement won't roll into there without multiple vehicles and significant support. So we should be able to get a look at what's going on there, but we'll definitely have to watch our six. I don't think I could ever make my way across here. Could you?
Next to impossible, huh?
Yeah, it's impossible.
If you have a 5-year-old daughter and you live in the United States, this is what stops her from going to Mexico and being raped. If you live in Mexico and you have a 5-year-old daughter, this is what stops her from being trafficked into the United States for these perverts to rape her. It's that simple. That's reality.
The Viper team's goal is to locate the cartel spotters and make it harder for them to get their human cargo across the border and into the U.S. For many young kidnapped boys and girls coming through Mexico, this is where their journey begins. Well, if I wanted to know who was coming in here, I'd have someone up there because it's easy to drop them off and pick them up if they're living here in town or something, to have them up there watching. But otherwise, push them further back with high-powered optics to see the dust trails of the vehicles coming in, and they'll be able to count vehicles and see if it's law enforcement, you know, SUVs, or what kind of activity that they could expect from that.
There are about 75 cartel organizations that are controlling and trafficking women and children. Now, this is slavery, something that we had controlled and gotten rid of 100, 150 years ago.
Craig and his team move in to conduct recon in an area where all major mountaintops are occupied by cartel spotters.
This is where we're camped out right now. There's 2 drops on the north side and there's 1 drop on the south side. This is where the scout's sitting that we were told about yesterday.
Right.
If he's sitting up there, that's a good sign that there's groups being pushed through.
That is a warning for the gangs. Really? Which gang?
MS-13.
MS-13?
American soil, a warning by MS-13 that this is their territory. We gotta clean this up.
A bit farther down, the team arrives at an active border crossing spot.
So here's one area of U.S.-Mexico border that there's literally a gate. You walk straight into the United States from this gate. So if I were to step right there, that literally would be Mexico. Now, last time I was down here, see this rickety little barbed wire fence up this hillside. There was literally little to no barbed wire at all, just a couple strands almost laying on the ground. That actually has been repaired a bit since I was down here. There are some minor improvements being made. I mean, this is, folks, you know, this is our border.
And in moments, they spot the cartel traffickers with their human contraband. For now, the traffickers' operation is disrupted as they have specific schedules to keep. But once the Viper team leaves, they'll eventually complete their journey straight into the United States. Craig and the team continue their recon patrol into the night to observe more on how the traffickers play their game in that area. Using night vision and thermal image devices, the Viper team was able to report signs of heavy traffic to law enforcement.
This is what they refer to as flat top. And it's another cartel scout location where they keep scouts up there year round. And also right here where I'm sitting, but right up the back side of it, right here, it runs the U.S.-Mexico border. So this is Mexico. And on this side is the United States. But that's it, folks. I mean, a little barbed wire fence.
There he is, you see him? He's walking up on them rocks.
Holy shit, yeah, there he is. Got it. Well, he just turkey peeked right there, his head. I see it. Oh, yeah, you just to the left.
And I got to tell you, one of the things that really angered me as a warrior, an American citizen, was seeing that there are cartel scouts that are allowed to live on the mountaintops inside the United States and report with radios and circumvent our law enforcement. And that these cartel scouts live up on these mountains year round and they're resupplied on a regular basis and they're allowed to stay there. It's unthinkable, it's ridiculous. Since when do we give the enemy the high ground and just allow them to operate in our own home? How does that come about? I don't get it. There's a wide range of child trafficking victims and perpetrators that we're seeing. We're seeing everything from MS-13 gangbangers, moving kids and teenagers to high-end sophisticated networks and individuals, and then even families. Sadly enough, mothers and fathers sell their own kids. All of it's heartbreaking. The kids lose at every turn. We just got to figure out exactly what we can do about it.
Hey, Sawman, come check this out.
Looks like we just missed dinner.
As we were coming up, they were watching us probably over here, and as we got up, they moved back down the mountain, and we followed suit into their main camp area, which they stage, and they all three had big packs on, carrying dope.
It shut down this little route for a while.
I think the most important thing, man, is we ran across the little kids' tiny backpack, man. Is put things in perspective. Food, little shoes, like unpassable almost, man.
The network is very powerful. Criminals are organized, and I think it's time that we good people organize to fight back for our kids. After all, who are we if we can't look after our own offspring? There are multiple things that cause this culture of child rape. One of the things is pornography. Another is Alfred Kinsey. Back in the 1950s, he was a self-described sadomasochistic pedophile whose own genitals were mutilated due to what he preferred sexually. So his mind was sick.
Child sex trafficking in the United States really begins back earlier than most people understand. in 1970s, we already had a major campaign in the United States on the issue of child sexual abuse and trafficking, but we didn't call it trafficking at that time.
Dr. Judith Reisman is the founder of the Reisman Institute, which is dedicated to exposing and debunking Alfred Kinsey's fraudulent so-called science regarding child sexuality. She is internationally recognized as an expert witness on human sexuality.
I would have to say the Kinsey reports laid the scientific foundation for abusing kids. In 1948, the groundwork was laid. There was Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, which was Alfred Kinsey wrote Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, supported across the board by Planned Parenthood, all came together with that. So Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. Then in 1953, Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. There was no field of human sexuality education before Kinsey. None. We had the common law that was based our laws on. It was biblical, okay. When Kinsey came on board, half the states in the Union gave the death penalty, could give the death penalty for rape. The other half, life in prison. Now we have all these feminists, properly complaining that rape is treated, in a casual way. Well, this all comes from something. It all emerges out of something. And that something, that kind of dehumanization that is picked up by the media from the academic world, pushed through the schools, through first just the universities, then the junior high schools, the high schools, then now the kindergarten, all that then lays the groundwork for where we are.
It seems like a percentage of Americans perceive Kinsey as someone who opened up the discussion for sexuality and that was a good thing, but what I think a lot of them fail to see is that he was a sadomasochistic pedophile, and what he did was horrific. And so his studies were falsified, and since they were, it seems to me like his studies and the doctrine that have followed need to be gone back, reversed, denounced, disavowed, and replaced by more wholesome and healthy real science, whatever that actually is, but not to take the falsified studies of a sick mind and accept that as science.
You're talking about a man who, he didn't just use images of children, he used real children. He used real children, and he had charts and graphs of orgasms that a child was supposed to have an orgasm, a 5-year-old, a 4-month-old. One was a 4-year-old that allegedly had 26 orgasms in 24 hours. Now that's around the clock experiment, right? So this was research that was established and was believed by the American public, by the whole world, really. And the whole thesis behind his research was that children are sexual from birth. Children are sexual from birth, which then gets funneled into the mindset of the public, and it becomes the foundation of human sexuality education. Hugh Hefner, at age 22, he was a virgin in college. He read Kinsey, and that radicalized him. He said, oh, Kinsey's the scientist, I will be Kinsey's pamphleteer. So what comes out of Playboy is the stream of pornography, which is at the base of your trafficking world, absolutely. The stream of pornography. 15 years later, we got Penthouse. 10 years after that, we got Hustler, and then it hasn't stopped, right? But the impetus for that came from the academic world, came from Dr. Alfred Kinsey's fraudulent data.
And look at all the harm it's caused.
Enormous harm. Alfred Kinsey should have been arrested, so should all his teammates have been arrested. The Kinsey Institute's still alive and still educating the public. And now we are seeing the explosion, and the end result is the massive abuse of children, as well as directly related, the trafficking of children, because you can't separate the grooming of children from the trafficking of children.
Most of us start out in the business as children because what adult would make that conscious decision? Not very many. My mother had a drug problem and she wasn't pretty enough to make any money, but I was. I really wanted my mom to love me, and I also didn't want her to be sick. So that's how it started.
When people talk about sex trafficking, it's always with the image of a young girl. But in reality, young boys are targeted to a disturbing degree as well. Horrifically, there's a national organization that specifically targets young boys. Its name is NAMBLA.
NAMBLA is the North American Man-Boy Love Association. It's a group of men that are sexually attracted to boys.
Bob Hamer spent 26 years in the FBI, much of it working undercover, as a hitman, drug trafficker, international arms dealer, professional gambler, and pedophile.
I literally sat through a meeting with the members in which they discussed having oral sex on 18-month-old boys. I was able to attend 2 of their kind of top secret national conferences. Once I got to the meeting, I realized that it was more about celebrating your love for boys, where to go to find boys, how to seduce boys. It was those type of things that the members were talking about. Most of the men that I dealt with were high-functioning individuals. I think a lot of us think we can identify who the pervert is. We think, oh, they hang out at the public park with a trench coat and flash somebody, but that's not what I ran into. I found that the men in this organization ran the socioeconomic gamut. One of the men that we convicted had a Corvette, and that was sort of his entree into the boys, because he would allow the boys to ride in his Corvette. They liked his car. It varied with each person, but it really is. It's a grooming process. I mean, it's similar to the dating process, where it begins with a glance, with a kind word, with a conversation, and pretty soon you've developed this relationship. One of the members was big into Frisbee, and it allowed him to kind of come behind the boy to hug him and get close to him and show him how to toss this Frisbee. They sought out that child that was seeking a father figure. And once they were able to identify that person, that's how they were successful in their seduction. I will only apply this to NAMBLA. I am not an expert I'm not a child psychologist. I'm not trained in psychology. But in my experience with NAMBLA, 3 years, not on a daily basis, but 3 years in the organization, participating at a high level, writing for their magazine, communicating with 165 members that were in prison. Not one child was successfully targeted by a NAMBLA member that had a strong, loving father figure in the home. And one of the members told me, "You can never cure us, but you always tell the court-ordered counselors what they want to hear."
If I had the ability to communicate directly to child traffickers and child predators, it would really be 2 parts. Number one, it destroys the lives of the children. It's not okay. If you try to tell yourself just because you're getting off on it doesn't make it okay for the victim, because I interview the surviving victims all the time, and their lives have been shattered. If you're out there preying upon the children, we're out there looking for you, and we're probably going to get you.
The Viper team's research has discovered a spike in underage prostitution in a suburb of Guilford, Connecticut. Teaming up with local law enforcement, they plan to send a message to the pedophiles of the city. You seek out sex with a child, you go to jail.
We're going to head to the police station, meet the chief of police, along with the DA, liaison with them, coordinate, and map out exactly how we're going to operate together to get this operation done. Nice to meet you. Craig Sawyer. Nice to see you.
Hi, this is Deputy Chief.
Craig Sawyer. Pleasure.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You know, there's multiple agencies helping out here as well. We're the only ones sitting at the table, but we have several surrounding agencies. We have the Madison Police Department, the Clinton Police Department, the Brantford Police Department, the North Haven Police Department, the Milford Police Department, West Haven Police Department.
Fairfield also assisted us.
Spent 3 hours with us the other day. Yeah. So, you know, it's not just us, and everybody's on the same page with what we're trying to accomplish. So
I'm doing the background side of it as far as the legal aspects, the charges, what we think we have. I've already been able to screen the stuff as provided in terms of the texts.
Brian Sibley is the local district attorney, the prosecutor. He will monitor the conversations and texts to determine at exactly which point the team can make an arrest. In most cases, they won't even have to wait for the perp to arrive at the house.
You know, but the second they start going past and starting to force and trying to walk past you or something, just give me the code and we'll come, or them. That'll be them.
If they step in there with this robe.
Right.
So yeah, if we can stage your truck, even somehow where it's kind of severing off the backside of the driveway, it forces them to park in that area, then it's only logical to go up on the deck.
yeah, the deck's going to be lighted.
Hopefully they might see the decoy inside the window anyway.
Yeah, if we know that they're coming up, then I'll be in the door and motioning in.
A woman working undercover is pretending to be the pimp, selling a young girl to men who are answering an ad on Backpage.com. Backpage is a virtual shopping mall for all things sexual, including access to underage girls and boys. Since this recording, Backpage is now illegal and offline.
Once all that's done, Matt's going to reset his team back at the house, bring the transport vehicle back and secure it back in the garage, and we're going to reset up for the next round.
All right, so we're off to go prep the target house that we're going to use for the operations, figure out how to hide the cameras there, the lay of the land, so to speak, and coordinate what we're doing there. I'd say it's so common that no matter what town you're in, that by now you can probably go within a couple blocks and find a victim or a perpetrator of child trafficking. Is that pervasive, and that many people finding out that they can prey upon the children and benefit from it? So it's very widespread.
After posting online ads for sex with a young girl, they received the first response within 15 minutes. Within 30 days, they received over 5,000 responses, locally.
Hey, good, come on in.
Law enforcement and the Viper team are at the ready, but everyone's concern is this predator armed? Is he violent? Is he a trafficker coming to kidnap the girls and run? Nobody knows.
Not much. Good. Nice to meet you. Brian, right?
Yes, sir.
So, can I get you a water, or do you want to start on the wine?
No, I'm good with the wine.
No, you sure?
Yeah. I'll take a glass of water, though.
Yeah, have a seat. Is bottled okay?
Huh?
Bottled okay?
Craig and his team wait for Brian the DA to give them the word.
So what made you interested in this? Why'd you answer my ad?
I don't know. I'm a boring person. I need to do something fun in my life. All I do is go to work and go home. I don't do nothing else. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was thinking it was kind of sketchy, but that's why I kept like, not like hassling you, but I just wanted to make sure that I was all right, because there ain't nothing in this world for my freedom, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. It's a risk putting an ad like that out on Craigslist.
Yeah, because you see a lot of, excuse my language, but you see a lot of crazy people up there.
Yeah. So I hope you don't mind that I actually invited somebody to come along.
How's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
You're here to party.
Not so much. How you doing?
Well, if you let me know what you got in mind, maybe I can be of assistance.
I don't know. I not really. Like I said, I get a little nervous, you know. And trust me, I don't want no problems.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But I understand a few more things too.
Yeah. What's like what?
I know you're into family play.
I did that one time with a cousin of mine. She got so drunk one time, and it was just like, oh. She came on to me, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not into it, and this, that, and the third. And then she like started grabbing me and touching me or whatever, and I'm like, nah, bro, I can't. And then I got up with her, and then that was that.
All right. Well, what drove you here today? What made you decide, okay, I'm gonna come and do this?
Nothing. Just like I said, man. I'm sorry.
Keep your hands out of your pockets.
No, it's just my phone.
Yeah. Keep your hands out of your pockets and have a seat, please.
Okay. You know what? I don't even feel comfortable right now. And even when I first walked in, I felt a little awkward.
Yeah. Well, I think you felt awkward because you've been a bit of a bad boy.
Bad boy. That's the code word.
Yeah, and I'm...
Stand up right now. Hands behind your back.
Yes, sir.
Do it now.
Yes, sir.
Sit down. Turn in. Anything on you shouldn't have weapons in this open?
Yes, sir.
Keep an ID on them.
Yes, sir.
All right, stay right there. Turn and face me. Give me a search, please.
Nothing sharp on your picking focus shipping? Nothing in your pockets?
The first predator is taken away to be booked with attempting to have sex with a minor. He's potentially facing 8 years in jail, plus a $10,000 fine, and an average lawyer fee of $175,000. He'll be a marked man for the rest of his life, registered as a sex offender. The fact is, he was guilty of this crime before he even got to the house. But V4CR operators and the police gave the perp plenty of opportunity to fully express his intent to have sex with a minor by letting this sting play out.
Statistically, we're learning that each child predator harms an average of 70 children each. Some of them, it's hundreds of children because they've worked themselves again into positions of authority and access, and some of them sadly never get caught. Others get caught very early on, so the average is about 70 children each, and so they tend to never stop.
As darkness falls and the temperature begins to drop, a second predator arrives.
Yeah, that's fine.
So how was your drive?
Cold,
Yeah.
but I like it, so.
Ugh.
What? What's wrong with the
Like
cold?
cold?
Yes.
Gross. So, I hope you don't mind. I have a little surprise. I kind of took it upon myself because of what we've been talking about.
Okay.
I have a friend that is kind of connected in such things.
Yeah.
So I asked him to come over and tell us about some of the special deals that he could get us on, like more experiences like this. That's cool?
How's it going?
Hi.
I am someone who you can consider like your recreational activities director.
Okay.
I know a lot of people around here. You let me know what you're after. Maybe I can help you out.
How about we try this if I do end up coming again?
Yeah.
Can we do it then? Would that be
Like
possible?
meet then? Well, I mean,
Well, I don't, help me understand. I'm not sure I understand why you're here. I don't want to miss out on anything.
Well, why are you here?
I'm here to help you, man. I'm here to help you find a 12-year-old girl, apparently. What was it that drove you to come and seek this out? I mean, I think I understand based on the communication, but
Yeah.
can you help me kind of understand your thoughts a little more?
I've been depressed for the past 2 years now, out of being secluded, alone. And really any form of communication kind of raises everything up.
If being depressed brought you into a bad place, what do you think it might do to a young child having sex with a grown man and having his left inside of her and her mother?
I don't think it would be good, but at the same time.
but you were willing.
Yeah.
You were willing to do that though, to a 12-year-old girl.
I guess you could say my depression took me too high.
I got to tell you, as somebody that does this, this was difficult for me to do as an adult. It was difficult for me to talk to you with the way that you were talking about my 12-year-old stepdaughter, and I do this all the time.
The entire ride here, I knew that I was making a bad choice in coming here, knowing that this is probably gonna end horribly. But the fact that the sexual drive in me kept on pushing forward. So I guess I just pushed everything to the side and just kept on going.
I think that because of the fact that you've been a bad boy, that this is where the road ends for you.
Please stand up right now, hands where I can see. Walk to me. Face me, hands behind your back. Do not move. Please. Do not move.
Can you bring them?
Yeah, we'll bring them. Yeah, we'll bring them. We're only going to the garage, not going outside.
Our undercover agents make themselves targets for the predators online. They don't have to work very hard at it because these predators are out there looking for their targets already. It's not really like going to a pond and throwing a hook in and pulling in catfish. It's more like going to the pond and dropping a stick of dynamite in there and they all come up. There are thousands of them that will respond, certainly hundreds within one night.
Okay, slow down a little bit because the road is going to veer off to the left.
The next predator made a mistake with his directions and has gotten lost.
It's way up. Listen. Will you both of you listen?
Realizing he's in over his head, he begins to panic.
Cops ain't here. The cops ain't here.
What?
The cops follow us.
Knowing he's a repeat offender with a propensity for violence, the external surveillance team who's been tracking him decides to end this right there.
Get on the ground. Start the floor. Get right there.
This predator chose to include a friend to give him a ride to a 13-year-old's house and commit a felony sex act with a minor. What a piece of work.
We're going to take those off, but we're not going to, I want you to drive so you just relax a little bit, okay? Just want you to calm down.
You know, tell me what happened, sir? You guys can get evidence officer to secure this stuff here. Can you tell me what happened, sir? Can you tell me what happened, sir?
Go grab a bag.
Can you tell me what happened,
This
sir?
go back to the house?
We're going to talk to you in a minute.
What's your name?
Can you pick it up and just secure it? Clear for transport? Clear for transport. So she call that mileage, all right? No, she's driving the car, following us, not under arrest, soft. Okay.
The last predator of the night arrives, bearing a gift for the girl he's there to have sex with. A birthday cake for a 12-year-old who just turned 13.
Hey, come on in. Have a seat. Good, shut that.
It's cold out there.
Yes. Come sit by the fire. What do you have?
A little treat here. That's for chocolate cake, right?
That's so sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
The predator also brought some lingerie for the girl and her mother to wear while they engaged in his perverted sexual fantasy.
Do you want to take your jacket off?
Sure. I'm glad we can get together today.
Yeah. So how are the kids?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
How old are they?
15 and 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So have you always enjoyed younger?
I've never experienced it.
Right. Like, is it something that you've ever been curious about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Carrie, how old are you?
I'm 13.
13? And you just had your birthday?
Yes, sir.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. So, and we actually have them ready if you wanted me to go up and change.
Sure.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi there, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. Have a seat for me. Don't worry. I'm right over there. Just sit down.
I'm gonna take off.
Bad boy.
Hands right, I see him right now. Hands up, hands up, hands up. Now behind your back, Do not move. There's no any weapons in the car? No weapons either. Get rear protection. You go shooting? You're an agent. What kind of agent? You're a federal agent? With what agency? You have a weapon on you in your car?
He worked for the Treasury Department. Specifically, it was the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. The man had children of his own, and he showed up at the site wanting to have sex with a 13-year-old girl after just dropping his own children off. He was even so sick as to bring a birthday cake because he was told by our undercover agent that the girl was having a birthday. And so he was going to use this cake to help groom her to whatever his specific desires were. If this individual was with you, with your children, had seen your children, it could have been the same thing. If he's willing to jeopardize his oath to the country to the point where he wants to break the law like that, he'll do it with anything. In accessing these pornographic sites and dealing with child pornography on government computers, they're opening up our IT infrastructure to our nation's enemies. The industry itself is run by criminal organizations. Many cases, foreign governments. Even the images that are passed can have embedded code in them, which will further jeopardize our IT infrastructure. And we're talking about government agencies here, all the way from the Department of Defense, DEA, Department of Justice, the Treasury Department, the IRS. They're actually compromising those infrastructures to the point which makes it a national security issue.
As nice a man as he might think he is, putting him in jail is the best thing for him. There, he'll have time to get counseling and perhaps change his life for the better. The running, the hiding, the guilt will finally end, and he can get the help he needs. Brian, I have a genuine appreciation for the contrast, the difference of what we've gotten with you here and your willingness to face this, which is obviously a very difficult and tricky issue to face. It's ugly.
What we were trying to do is to basically rip that can off the ugly, top of the can off of the ugly, and say, look inside and go, it is ugly. And you got to reach down. You're gonna have to get dirty.
Yeah, this sucks to face. It sucks to deal with, but it's got to be done. It's like cancer, you know. You can't wish it away. You have to address it. You've got to deal with it one way or another. And so, it feels good to be part of the process of exposing it while uncomfortable. That's the only way that can really be addressed and put to bed. As we leave Connecticut here, I'm left with a sense that, man, this was an important first stepping stone in this style of joint operations between an organization of veterans and law enforcement to create a model that we can replicate, to expand across the United States, to address this on a wide-scale basis and really help put this pedophile nonsense to bed.
Well, at the time, I'm 11, 12 years old. Somebody approached me and says, you can actually get your own place in less than a week. And I thought, get my own place in less than a week? Are you crazy? I'm 12 years old. And the guy said, I can make you rich. He says, I know this man that lives up on the north side of town, and he'll pay you big money if you go and see him. I said, well, how old is he? At the time, like I said, I'm 12 years old. Well, how old is he? Well, he's 75. So that day, he took me in his car and we went up to this house. A butler answered the door. He ended up paying me $500. And the guy that took me up there gave me $50. And boy, I thought I was the richest thing in the world with my $50. I would say from the week I lost my virginity to the end, from Monday to Monday, I probably seen 15 guys. That's how it all began.
Thailand is known for its ancient ruins and ornate temples, but it's also known as the top destination in the world for sex trafficking.
While we were in Thailand, we learned that 7 out of 10 Westerners that step off of an airplane participate in the sex trade there in one way or another.
Craig is on a fact-finding mission in Southeast Asia, which has many of the oldest and most permissive sex trafficking countries in the world. He wants to find out how local anti-traffickers are dealing with the problem and how their solutions might translate to his work in the United States.
The sex trade here in Cambodia has been around for millennia.
Ted Olbrich is the head of Foursquare Children of Promise, one of the largest providers of orphanages for sex trafficking survivors.
The whole value of a woman is based upon their virginity. And once they become broken, quote unquote, which is the term that they use here, they are not considered marriageable. So that's a big issue. Then you have these women, they've come out of the countryside, and a huge percentage of the girls, especially, that grew up in the rural provinces were never considered worthy to educate. And so when the factories opened up, many of the workers that come in are illiterate young women, and they find that they can earn more money in that sex trade than they can working in a garment factory.
ពេលដែលគេជួញដូរខ្ញុំហ្នឹងគឺខ្ញុំត្រូវថ្នាំសដងគេបាត់ហើយហ្នឹងគឺខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងថា And that time she want to jump from the guest house to the ground floor like when she want to kill herself.
Shanae was trafficked until she was 19. Her family didn't have enough money to feed themselves, so they locked her in a guest house and brought men to her there.
And sometimes she go out for the sex, and they just pay her for $50, and sometimes the mother need the money, so she has no choice. Just go with the man and take $50 from.
Thankfully, Destiny Rescue is one organization that is doing something about it. Working closely with the police, their undercover agents contact girls who want to get out, and then stage fake raids so no one suspects the girls are leaving for good.
Once we get the intel, obviously then it's passed on to the cops here, and then the case will start. That's what we're pretty much doing tonight, is trying to locate the minors, get as much information as we can, and then put a case together.
Armed with a list of girls who desperately want to escape, Destiny Rescue and the police strike late that night. The Destiny Rescue undercover agents' cameras capture the chaos as the police raid the club. The girls believe they're going to jail, but it's really a doorway to a new life.
I think tonight went really well. Got the girls rescued. They're actually getting a new life. And you just see the smile. It's great to see.
The raid was a success, but the learning curve has been steep.
So a lot of trial and error, you know, guns in our faces, fights in clubs, and just learning how to do things smarter and better to protect ourselves is where we are today. And we're in for the long haul, you know, like there's so many kids out there, estimated 1.2 million kids being trafficked. So, you know, it's a big job, and we're all committed to seeing it end, you know, we have to be.
After the raid, I wanted to know how some of these organizations helped the girls to get back to a normal life, and I came across a truly unique ministry called SWAT Ministries International, led by John and Chrissy Espy.
SWAT stands for Spiritual Warriors Against Trafficking.
Their rescuers come from all over the world, a lot of them from the US, some are local, but they're plumbers, electricians, fathers, brothers, regular people that aren't Superman, superhero. They don't have law enforcement or SEALs and background and stuff. So they need something while they're in, because they're not in the best of situations. They're, as you've seen, going into the backyard of the enemy's territory, you know, and it's not always safe.
You know, what we do is we come alongside organizations that go undercover to bring children from prostitution, from slavery, and we give them the skill sets that they need to protect themselves, to protect the kids, to do their jobs more safely and effectively.
Besides training current and future undercover rescuers, they also provide self-defense training to trafficked survivors, giving them back some of the power they lost.
Everybody has a heart for the kids. Everybody, you know, has a burning desire to see these kids rescued, and I do as well. But what my heart is really like, God just burdened my heart for, is the guys going undercover, the rescuers. That's my heart, is like, that's who that's my boys, and if anything happened to them, it would break me more ways than I could possibly imagine.
I learned a lot from running operations with Destiny and from SWAT Ministries International about how to take my team to the next level. And after a month of running joint operations with them, it was time to go back home and apply this new knowledge with my own team.
I grew up in a very sheltered household. Both of my parents were pretty successful. I was just unhappy. I had a very low self-esteem, and I ended up running away from home when I was very young. And I met a 30-year-old man who asked me if I wanted to go to a party, and I told him yes. At the time, I was still a virgin, so I was innocent, and he took advantage of that innocence. I don't ever feel like I'm going to be the same. I feel marked. Some days I just want to sit there and just not be present anymore.
My wife woke me up in the middle of the night, crying, saying, "Oh my God, baby, it's Aspen. She's been raped." And I could hear Aspen screaming into the phone.
In March of 2017, I was held hostage at knife point and taken, and I was sexually assaulted over the course of around 5 hours.
As you might imagine, with my background and capabilities, I had all kinds of things rushing through my mind, and I got on the phone with my daughter to try to get her to stop and pull over so we could get sheriffs to intervene and react and respond to where she was, and she wasn't stopping for anything. She was hysterical.
This guy just came up to me and started talking to me, and that's when he pulled a knife out of his pocket. And he said if I don't do what he said, he was gonna kill me. And so we start walking across the road, and along the way, he would stop and pull into like a lot and sexually assault me multiple times down the road. I knew I was gonna die. He told me, by the way, like, I'm gonna kill you. I just kept asking him if he could let me go. I was trying to say anything that I could think of. I was like, oh, I'll come back tomorrow. Even though clearly I wasn't going to, I was just trying to say anything that I could to just get him to let me go. After that, he actually walked me back to my car, and I drove home.
And so when we got her back, it was just a matter of deciding what we were going to do about it as a family.
My family did their best that they could to be there for me and support me, but I just felt like there was nothing that anybody could do to make what happened go away.
She was seeing demons in her room at night. It was giving her hallucinations. The doorbell would ring and she would start shaking uncontrollably.
I was scared to leave my house. I was scared to do anything, and I was having nightmares, and it was just horrible. I didn't even know if I wanted to even be alive, because the after effects on my brain was just, it was a lot.
This person didn't just rape our daughter. This person assaulted our entire family. We will never be the same.
He was arrested pretty quickly after. I can't remember exactly how long it took them, but it was within a few days. I was happy knowing that he couldn't do that to anyone else anymore.
Yeah, what our family was put through, I don't want anyone else to go through. Shouldn't happen. That's not part of who we're supposed to be.
What our goal is to take this really ugly experience and to do everything in our power to keep it from happening to another family. No family deserves to have this happen in their life. You're never the same, never.
Our family was tearing apart. We were just pretending that we were all okay. And then Aspen surprised us all.
I heard that they were going to be doing a sting operation, and right away I was like, I'm in.
I immediately declined the idea. I discredited it and threw it off. My own wife, whom I thought was on my side, said, Craig, you should let her do it.
When Craig first asked me about Aspen being a decoy, and he was really conflicted over it, I immediately knew it would take some power back.
And he was really apprehensive at first because he didn't want me getting into any kinds of trouble. We have to wear bulletproof vests because we don't know these people that we're encountering, and it can be very dangerous. And so he absolutely did not want me to go.
I don't think that my daughter should have to be in a place where she needs a bulletproof vest, ever.
I said, no, I'm going. This is a way for me to take back my power and for me to look in the eyes of the predator when they're in handcuffs instead of the other way around when I was the victim.
I was like, oh, you little scrapper, you. Okay, so at the end of the day, I decided, all right, we're gonna do this.
And so he said, all right, let's go.
Okay, we're stopping at the Parowan Police Department for liaison and morning briefing with them on our joint operations.
Good. Kevin Carpenter. Hey, Chris Sawyer. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Craig.
Very happy to be here, man.
We're happy to have you. Come on in.
As law enforcement, we're very concerned about children and children's rights and making sure that we're doing everything that we can in order to take care of our citizenry. And this has been a great opportunity for us to be able to come in with their resources and give us the opportunity of being able to work with them to be able to take these perpetrators off the street. You know, I think that this is very important for our communities to know that we're progressive and very active in doing what we can in order to protect our communities.
We already knew that our operational template was effective. We knew that it worked. So we went in there with confidence, met with the law enforcement, briefed them on how we conduct our operations, and set up the house accordingly.
I'm 19 years old and working for the first time with law enforcement as a decoy to take down a bunch of pedophiles. An ad was placed in an underground website last week, and dozens of men have responded to it, eager to sexually assault a 13-year-old. It's scary, but it's important for me to be here. Every time there was a knock on the door, I got a little bit of butterflies, but I don't think it was necessarily from nervousness. I think it was because I was excited to take these guys down, mostly. And I was all in, and whenever the guys showed up, I was like, let's do this.
Take this left for this large hammer here.
No, take the right. I'm directly across. No.
Right.
Right. Keep coming straight, and then you'll take the right.
You can see my truck.
Yeah, I see you. You can just pull right up there behind my truck.
Okay. All right, Kelly. See you at the door in a minute.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we agreed on $100 to get him in the door. Alexa, play classical for focus. Make him knock. You remind me of my grandpa. Hi, how are you?
Can I take my shoes off?
If you like, you sure can. Kelly, very nice to meet you.
Hug?
We don't get hugs. So let's take care of the $100.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you so much. So, can I ask you to tell me, just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am married, have a family. My wife and I are happily married, but haven't had any intimacy for years, although she's a very good woman.
Right.
You have just the two girls?
For now, yes, in this location. When we get back to the southeast, we'll have more girls, but these are the two that I like to travel with the most.
These aren't physically your girls then?
I take care of them.
Okay, I understand.
Right, yeah.
I was thinking that as your own daughters, but
Oh, no.
okay.
They're like my daughters. I mean, they're my favorite girls.
Okay. So, a half hour, I'd like them to choose which one's first.
Okay.
And then a half hour with the other girl.
Okay.
And then if things are going well, we'll agree on that right up front.
Right, and so you've already paid me the $100 for that?
Yeah. And then if everything is fine, then we'll do the two together.
Okay, and then that'll be an extra $50 at that point.
No, an extra 75.
Oh, look how honest you are.
Oh, that's nice of you.
You're very sweet. You actually remind me a lot of my grandfather, and he was a great, great man. I really...
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. My name's Craig, and I run an organization called Veterans for Child Rescue. And we pay attention to what goes on with the kids. And I appreciate anything that you can share with me on your journey here. I heard a little bit about your wife and understand the lack of intimacy lately. And so I get that part of it.
Let me be very candid. I don't want any sex at all. I mean, that isn't my interest at all. I've been lonely. I'm very happily married. Are you with police or something?
I'm not police. I run a veterans organization called Veterans for Child Rescue.
I'm a veteran myself. I was an officer in the service, military intelligence linguist.
Well, is there anything else you can share with me about what your understanding of the girls, of what your interaction with them, how that would have really impacted them? Did you consider that, or was it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What do you think your impact on them is, as 13-year-old girls?
Are they both 13?
Yes, that was in the ad.
Then I actually won't even interact with them if they're only 13.
Well, that was in the ad. That was something that we talked about and agreed on. Or no, I'm sorry, not in the ad, but in the text that we had back and forth was their age.
I didn't see that. So.
Sir, just please keep your hands
out of your pocket.
Keep your hands out.
No, well,
for safety.
No, I didn't see that, but no, if they're underage, then looks like you just made $100 and I'm on my way then.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work quite that way because you've been what we would refer to as a naughty grandpa. So.
Sheriff's office, show me your hands. Stand up, put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air. Slowly face away from me. Face away from me. Interlock your hands behind your head. Interlock your hands behind your head. For your safety of mind, do not move. Do you understand?
Say it again.
Do not move.
Stay right where you are, sir. How come you didn't tell me the truth?
What did he say up here?
Military intelligence linguist, and now works in construction. So he's a veteran officer, military linguist.
When these guys would get arrested, I would walk up to them and I would stand a couple inches away from them, right in their face, and I would just stare at them.
She would just stand there and watch them turn from predator into prisoner, and she confided in me, Papa, I have to let you know that this has been more healing than any counseling I think could have ever been.
I got to reverse it, and I got to put these people in the position that they should be in instead of me, and they were powerless. They were being taken down. They were being hunted instead of me. They were not going to be able to hurt anyone else anymore.
Ultimately, it was the right choice. It was so beautiful to see her fight back.
You're my hero. That's everybody.
You're starting to become mine.
Woo! There are two basic working types of pedophiles. What we call gutter pedophiles. These are the individuals that you would normally associate with low-level street crime, people that you would picture in a trench coat hanging on a corner, trying to lure children in with promises of candy. The other are elite pedophiles. These are individuals that are in positions of authority or positions of community respect. We're talking about government officials. We're talking about police officers, judges, school teachers, church aldermen, people that you would trust your child to be with, that you have faith in. That's what makes elite pedophiles so dangerous.
Okay, he's coming up the driveway, guys. Stand by.
Hi.
I was hoping to have the fireplace going because it's so cold, but it's broken.
It's broken. How did it break?
I don't know. It just stopped working. It worked when I left.
I had just talked to my Army recruiter a couple weeks prior, actually, and then this guy shows up, and he's an Army recruiter, and, you know, he has a wife and kids, and he had just dropped a kid off that he was trying to recruit, and then he came over to try to sexually abuse who he believed to be a 12-year-old girl.
Did you want that kind of lifestyle?
I've always been interested in it, but just never actually met somebody that's done it or been into it.
So I assume you're married,
Yes.
and so she's not into it.
No.
No. Have you ever talked to her about it or hinted
No.
or no? Just
So I already know how she is with it.
yeah. So is it like a religious thing or is it just like one of those taboo things that you just don't do?
It's, I guess she doesn't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
Well, understandable. I mean, most people don't. It's not.
Yeah.
It was hard enough for me to find you, so.
In the people that we've arrested, I don't think that this is the first time for any of them. When you listen to their phone calls and the way that they talk and they act, this is something that I think that they've been doing for a long time. And they've really been leading a double life, and I've just always felt that they could get away with it, and they don't care about their families any more than they care about these 13-year-old girls that they want to victimize.
Hey.
Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm Craig Sawyer. I founded a Veterans for Child Rescue organization, and I pay attention to what goes on with the kids. And that's why I'm here. You want to tell me why you're here?
Just interested.
Yeah. I understand you got your own kids. I've looked at your Facebook page. Look like fine little young people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'd want them protected as I would.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what was it, Jason, that you were looking to do with this girl here?
I don't know. It was for her, but
I think I was pretty clear from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got all the transcripts. I mean, I know everything that's happened. I was deeply disappointed because in the back of my mind, I was thinking, my gosh, there are countless fallen heroes buried in Arlington and all over the rest of the world who have given everything honorably and sacrificed for our country and for others selflessly. I just thought, my gosh, do you know how many good people you're dishonoring with your behavior? What's wrong with you? You think that this behavior reflects honorably upon the U.S. Army?
No.
I'm a veteran too. I think I can understand how that would be looked upon.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfortunate that you've chosen this path. Tell me about your kids, man.
They're 7 and 4. Both doing great in school.
Yeah. Have they been involved in any sex with adults, you or anyone else?
No.
Would you want them to be?
No.
I gotta ask you, man, what draws the line for you between you coming here to my 12-year-old daughter and your own children?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the scary part is I don't know either.
That's the way it's got to go, Jason. Unfortunately, you've been a bad, bad boy. That's where it is for you today.
Sheriff's officer, show me your hands. Please stand up. Stand up. Walk towards me. Face away. Slowly go down on one knee. Put your hands behind your head. Cross your ankles. No, keep your hands behind your head. Cross your ankles. For your safety of mind, do not move. Do you understand? Yep. Look to the left. Yep, got it.
I have more disdain for those who abuse positions of authority than anything else. And I think that they should be judged more harshly, even than the other predators, because there's a position of public trust that is abused by some of these predators. They work themselves in a position as a judge or a chief or a teacher or a coach or something that we traditionally want to give respect and credibility to, and sadly the predators work their way into those positions.
You know, their families are as much victims as these children are. They're not thinking at all about how it's going to affect their families or anyone else until we come up out of that stairwell and they realize that they're under arrest. And one of the things to me that's been really quite heartbreaking for me is to have to call their wives and say, we just arrested your husband for 2 counts of child rape. And it's very heartbreaking for me to have to tell them that their husband is a sexual predator.
My gosh, he's supposed to be serving and protecting. He's got kids of his own. He's got the responsibility to protect the little ones. And so if our officials are in on it, we've got a problem.
The sexual exploitation of children has increased exponentially. For instance, between 2003 and 2006, it doubled. It doubled again between 2006 and 2008, and then it doubled a third time from 2009 to 2013. It used to be that when we arrested a pedophile, we would find images that he was dealing in, maybe 100, 150. Today, though, we're up to 150,000 that we routinely find, and they go as high as 1.5 million. Why so high? Because they use it to trade. They use it to invest, and they sell those images to other pedophiles. This is a growing industry. That's why it's making so much money globally, especially here in the United States. The child pornography being watched is being performed by somebody. There is a perpetrator that is committing the offense. There's a child which is a victim. Whoever is watching that pornography is facilitating that child's rape. It's criminal. It's evil.
Hey, good, come on in.
Sorry.
Give me just 1 second, please.
Sheriff's officer, show me your hands. Please, put your hands in the air. Stop right there. Put your hands in the air. Put your hands in the air. Get them out. I want a second dog. Turn around. Turn around. Go down on, put your hands in the air. Go down on one knee. Go down on one knee. Go down on the other. Interlock your fingers behind your head.
Being there with the law enforcement and the PIs and actually getting it done, and it was so empowering, and I finally felt the power that had been taken from me. I know that I have a long road to recovery, but after what happened to me, I can't look away. I will keep fighting against the exploitation of children, and I will keep fighting for a positive change.
We remove the branding tattoos that are forced on victims of sex trafficking. A lot of these girls that are trafficked, their pimps will brand them to show ownership. It's a sign of ownership. And so they come here and we either lighten and remove them, or we have affiliates where they can go to get them covered with something beautiful. The tattoos can come in a form of a name, a symbol, numbers, dates, crowns. It all signifies the ownership of the pimp. Some do get branded with hot knives, some on their genitals. I have a daughter that was sexually assaulted, and I seen the trauma that she went through and magnify that over and over again. It keeps me driven to do this. A lot of these girls are trafficked at a young age, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. It is such a manipulation. They're seeking something that maybe they're not getting from home, or maybe they were bullied in school. The foster care system, instances like that. And these men know how to groom them. They're called Romeos or groomers, and they will say and do anything to gain their trust. They will even have dinner at their parents' house as the boyfriend to gain their trust. And once the trust is there, it's over. They go to a different state, or however this particular person does it. I feel anger, sadness, the whole thing. I try to give grace and forgiveness. And when we see these girls, a lot of times they're just happy, silly, and you wouldn't know, other than that we do know. And other times they're so traumatized, they're either angry or mean, even towards us, me and the technicians, or they're sad and quiet. And when they start to open up after we've known them for a little bit, the stories are something that the general public will never even imagine could happen. And I get angry, I get sad. There's days that I lose sleep. The ultimate goal would be to end my business, but for now, we're doing about 500 procedures a year, and we like to get in every single city in every single state to offer what we do, because it's not laser. It's a lot safer, and it can be handled much easier. So we'd like to be in every state and every city and have technicians everywhere. So when these girls are ready, and sometimes boys, when they are ready, we can help them remove this painful past.
V4CR has built a coalition of nonprofits and non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, each addressing a different aspect of the child sex trafficking problem. Sold No More focuses on education and prevention, equipping children in schools with the knowledge of how to avoid falling victim to child trafficking. SWAT Ministries International is an NGO that trains volunteers to rescue children from traffickers and helps empower survivors with self-defense skills. Soul Survivor, Inc. removes the branding tattoos from survivors to help them recover their own identities. Veterans for Child Rescue exposes the threat through creative media campaigns and directly combats child sex trafficking by running joint operations with law enforcement to arrest predators. The Rancho Milagro Foundation helps bring healing to trauma survivors in a unique manner by using equine therapy. Aspen Sawyer has received healing at Rancho Milagro. Our comprehensive coalition does more together than each organization could do by itself, each using its unique gifts and skills to help overcome the trauma of child sex trafficking.
I think we've been conditioned too much so in the United States to be tolerant of everything. But there are things that we must not be tolerant of. We must not be tolerant of that which will kill us or that which will destroy our children. And so what I want people to know is that this is a situation that we can defend all American children and really all the children across the globe. I would like for this to grow into a global cause.
I think it's super important for guys to just realize that, you know, women are not sexual objects. We're not property, we're human beings. And, you know, you might think looking at, you know, Playboy or whatever is innocent, and it might seem that way. But oftentimes what can happen is these guys start to venture into more things because they get bored with the usual naked woman and they want to venture. And that's when they can get hooked onto child pornography and things that can be really harmful. And that's when they start to kind of think in their brain that women are sexual objects, and they start to treat us that way.
Real men don't buy kids. Real men do not buy children for sex. Real men are strong, and we are protectors of the defenseless, and we certainly do not prey upon vulnerable women, and we certainly don't do it against and upon the defenseless and precious children. knock it off or we're coming for you.
There's too many people that watch porn at a young age. There's these games where they actually get points for raping someone, and they're desensitizing that these are human beings. They're not toys. You can't buy them and hurt them like this. But as long as there's supply, demand, it will never end.
The demand starts with the individuals that are lonely, that feel like they're not doing any harm. The demand starts with individuals that have sexual addictions that they're not willing to address. And the demand starts with individuals that feel like it's okay to buy men, women, and children. It's just disgusting.
And we need, fathers to teach their sons right from wrong. And it's just really important because the victim is not at fault. The people who are at fault are the rapists, the kidnappers, and 1 in 4 women. I mean, that's just way too much. There's a problem. Stop objectifying women. Need to be respectful.
Objectification of women who, it's not just their looks that we should value them for. It's what they bring to the table in a relationship, into our lives. Some of the most important people we'll ever encounter are our mothers and our wives and our daughters. And I think we just need to get back to valuing people for being who they are rather than just the visual of what they look like and the sexual gratification that they may bring. When we lock our doors and our windows at night, we lock up our vehicles, and we retreat to our master bedrooms with our children in their rooms, and we think that they are safe, but we might as well have left the window wide open because they're on their phones, they're on their computers, they're on their Xbox games, and predators are interacting with them and stalking them, asking them for video and pictures of themselves that they use to then blackmail the child and scare them into giving more, and then meeting them in a place, and it just leads to harm. So the predators are reaching right through the airwaves into our children's bedrooms, and we do have to safeguard them in that way.
Get in that phone, get in that laptop, have your kid open up their Xbox content, who their friends are. You've got to see it. Do it once a week.
We used to want to respect our child's privacy, but what we realized that the predators are so adamant and they're so good at tricking the children and the young men and women to get what they're ultimately after, that we have to take that privacy in order to ensure that they are safe.
If we suspect something, we need to be all about it and get into it and find out what's going on. Be the adult that every child needs. Be that person. Be the person who's going to save somebody.
The public needs to hold authorities accountable for going after these pedophiles that are abducting, assaulting, and raping children. We need stronger laws and stronger politicians who will enforce those laws in order to make this happen.
Never hesitate to stand for good and speak the truth, because the light outshines the darkness every time. And that's kind of been an evolution for us. We've grown in that respect of having such strong faith that good overcomes evil. And fear not, you should stand up and do right. And there is no decision to be made. By running these operations, I can have an influence, and I can prevent untold numbers of victims by getting their attackers, getting the predators off the streets, by running larger and larger programs, by warning the people that the threat exists and how to defend their children from it. And that's my healing. That's how I fight back, and that's what I've learned that I can do through V4CR. Together we are quite literally what we can't be alone. We can't be a network of people that says no more by ourselves, but we can together. There's strength in numbers. We understand what's going on now. And by alerting each other and by linking and networking and gaining power and momentum, we can beat this back, and we must, and we will. We will. Together, we can make the change.
Take action. Go to vetsforchildrescue.org.
There he is.